Hi, I'm Rekha and I'm the Chief Trainer of KalpaTharu Consulting. In this video, we are going to discuss on other risk parameters. See, to start with, in the planning part of risk management, we are going to come out with the risk management plan and then we identify the risk. When we identify the risk, we are not supposed to ignore any risk. Irrespective of magnitude, we have to collect all the risk and document it in the risk register. And then we need to prioritize the risk as we cannot give equal importance to all the risk. The first stage of prioritization is perform qualitative risk analysis, where we are going to prioritize the risk in a subjective way. So we are going to prioritize based on its probability and the impact, and we are also going to prioritize the risk based on other parameters in a subjective way to say whether it is high or low. So the other parameters to start with: urgency. So once the risk happens, when we are going to take action? Are we going to take action within a short period, or we can take an action to manage the risk at a longer period? We can take more time to take action. See, if we are going to take a short period or quickly we need to take action to manage the risk, then we call that as high urgency. If we can take a longer period to take action, that is called as low urgency. See, for example, let's take we had a severe stomach ache or something very, very high pain. Then we may immediately rush to the doctor. So that is high urgency. But if we have a mild headache, we may not immediately run to the doctor, but we may observe, divert ourselves, have some coffee, water, or have a small nap, right? So we don't take an action to manage that risk or that pain, for example. So that can be high urgency. So this may not be a direct example, but just to help you understand that what is urgency. If you're going to take action within a short period, it is called as high urgency. And if you're going to take a longer period to take action, that is called as low urgency. And then proximity. Proximity is the risk has happened and the impact. Some risk may take a longer time to impact the project, and certain risk can take a shorter period to impact the project. If the risk is going to impact the project in a shorter period, we can call that as high proximity. If it is going to take a longer period to impact the project, we can call that as low proximity. See, some virus which attacks our system, when I say system, the laptop or the server or the storages, so a certain virus may immediately impact the system, right? It may crash the system down. So then we can say that is high proximity. But some virus may take a longer period to impact the laptop or the server. So then we can call it as high proximity. And then dormancy. Dormancy is the risk has happened and the impact also has happened. But how quickly or how much time we take to identify the risk? If we are going to take a shorter period to identify the risk, we call that as high dormancy. If we take a longer time to identify the risk, it is called as low dormancy. To give an example, see, there may be certain sickness or illness or the virus which enters our body, right? Some virus may have entered the body and may be impacting the health as well, but it may not be obviously visible. So when it is not visible, then it may take a longer time for us to identify that we have been impacted by this sickness or illness. So then that is dormancy. That is, it takes a shorter period to identify the impact, to identify the risk. We call that as high dormancy. If we take a longer period to identify the risk, that is called as low dormancy. So this three, that is urgency, propinquity and dormancy, is based on the time period. Then we will see the next, which is manageability. How easy is this risk to be managed? and how difficult it is to be managed. If it is easy to manage, then we call it as high manageability. If it is difficult to manage, we call that as low manageability. And then controllability. How difficult it is to control the risk and how easy to control the risk. If we are able to easily control the risk, then we call it as high controllability. If it is very difficult to control the risk, then we call it as low controllability. Detectability. Is it easy to detect the risk or is it difficult to detect the risk? If it is easy to detect the risk, we call that as high detectability. If it is difficult to detect the risk, we call that as low detectability. And then connectivity. If see, one risk can bring in multiple other risks in the project. For example, if there is an increase, if we anticipate a risk of increase in petrol, then as a ripple effect, it may have a price rise in various other commodities or materials we are going to buy for the project, right? So one risk, bringing in more risk, is called as high connectivity. If this risk is not going to bring in more risk or other risk, then we call it as low connectivity. Then strategic impact. Strategic impact, some risk can have a impact at the strategy level, at the organization strategy level. In that case, we call it as high strategic impact. If the risk is not going to bring in much impact at the strategy at the organization level, then we can say low strategic impact. And then we have propinquity. Propinquity, see, one risk can have an impact on multiple stakeholders. Then we call that as high propinquity. If it is going to have low impact or impact on less or very minimal stakeholders, then we call it as low propinquity. So these are the other risk parameters based on which you are going to assess the risk. See, recent days we see regularly this question is being asked, so I request you to understand these terms. Let me repeat. The other risk parameters are urgency, proximity, dormancy, manageability, controllability, connectivity, detectability, strategic impact, and propinquity. I hope you understood these other risk parameters. If yes, like our video and subscribe to our channel for more learnings. Thank you.